I noticed on some of the maps that England had this word called Mercia on it, and it, even now there's all these other times which I can't explain, and you know, these other eras and dynasties and whatever it is, kings and queens. For a period of time, in this time, we were Mercia. Wherever it is, it changes depending on which map you look at. But Mercia kept coming up. Mercia. 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 There it is. So, right back then, Mercia, the Kingdom of Mercia. But it keeps changing on the maps. But it was there, Mercia. And then, basically, there you go. Tiny little bit of information there. There you go. Mercia was one of the kingdoms of the Anglo-Saxons. 918. And here it says, although it hasn't come up very big, that it's the border people. Obviously they're on a march, but border people, borders, counties, areas in the UK, so they're called the border people. Sorry, that's not very big there, is it? But I think I'll show it a little bit bigger in a minute. Anyway, and then of course it turned into the Kingdom of England later on. 927, I think that is. Well, I'll tell you what I can do. In medieval Europe, a march or mark was in broad terms any kind of borderland as opposed to a national heartland. More specifically, a march was a border between realms. A march was a border between, I hope you can read that, realms. Wow. Here it's all to do with realms. What a word to use. This is in Wikipedia. What haven't they been telling us then if we're going in and out of realms? What are they talking about? Anyway, I just wanted to show that. Realms, hey? But when I go over to look at it and it comes up a bit more sort of about America, you start getting these kind of answers, which you can stop and look at if you want. All relating to Mercia or Mercia or I don't know how to say the other one, Mercia. But there wasn't really anything else than that. Oh well, they're just known, you know, often they say it's when Americans are doing things only Americans do. Oh, that's what it means, Mercia. Do you remember that one? Well, it obviously doesn't, does it? It obviously means different things. Because we were called Mercia. All they've done is add an A on it and it becomes America. But it's Mercia with an A on it. There you go. The border people, see? Which was on that little thing. It's a little bit small, but a little bit of stuff there you can read, because that's what it means here. But it's the same thing. So basically, America is Mercia with an A on it. Oh, and you see that there? I've often mentioned, right, what ITA, this stupid thing they did to me when I was a kid. And they used to join backs of letters together, a bit like that. But anyway, look at that. Join letters together, like, look at the names. They don't look very English, do they? Anyway, that wasn't my point, was the kings. It was the fact that we were called Mercia, and America is called Mercia with an A on it. And Mercia means border people. Anyway, you can read that. I'm coming to the end. I just thought that was quite interesting. As you realise with etymology that everything means something different. So over here it's all about realms, border people, but in America it's because that's what you were. We have here, Mercia means we can do what we want. Or it means realms, different realms. What's your thoughts? What do you make of that then? America is Mercia with an A on it.
Dreams that you want him to do you so much you could do anything.
Hello everybody, this actually is part 2. I've done part 1, it's on Unscrambled waiting to go out, but I'm adding this part to it. I wanted to look up boats. I started off 1900s, 1910, 1920s. So different boats came up, but you know, it was the 1920s really, where obviously they couldn't hide it then because they'd already had the Titanic. So that's where more of the boats came in. Passenger ones I'm talking about. And I've already been intrigued because I'm going to include the video that I put on Unscrambled Channel about boats. I'm going to include it after this one. That it's so confusing because what happens is boats come up and then they'll say that that's that boat and that's that boat. But what I was finding was that sometimes it came up with 3 tunnels and sometimes chimneys, and sometimes it came up with 4. For the same boat. And I found that the other day when I was looking up information about the boats, ships, that the chimneys were wrong. Sometimes it said it had 3, sometimes it said it had 4, so I don't really know what that's about unless people haven't noticed or however they're doing it. But that's what some of these pictures are about. When you look at the names, you'll see they've got 3 tunnels, 4 tunnels, chimneys, which quite sort of bizarre, isn't it? There you go, so we're on to the bit with the 1920s now, and we get many more passenger boats. I started noticing then the boat had 3 chimneys, oh, and then 4 chimneys. And we've got a mention of Titanic there. So that one interested me because that one says that it's got 4 tunnels, chimneys, 4 chimneys. And what other ship does it look like? Well, we're going to show in a minute. Anyway, so here's a bit more information about it, just pictures and stuff. But there you go. Some have got 4. You'll find some of them are 3. That one up there's got 2. So it just goes like that. They never really sort of see the same. Have different chimneys. That one's got, yeah. Anyway, and also that Conyard. And RMS comes up a lot. I was plundering what it meant, RMS on the ship, considering a lot of them are your Royal Highness and all that kind of thing now. It just actually means the Royal Mail. They were Royal Mail ships as long as they were carrying letters and stuff for the Royal Mail. They were Royal Mail ships. I didn't know that. It's even in a trivia thing down here is coming up. I didn't know that, but I do now. So there you go, that's what it says there. And yeah, I'm looking here. Trivia, there you go, it's in one of the questions. Did you know that? Because I didn't. I noticed when they were showing the pictures of the boats that this Conrad came up quite a lot. Obviously that's another pie to go and look at, but that Conrad was the name of the people, that the shipping company to a lot of the boats. Although they say the Royal Mail boats as well, but Conrad came up quite a lot. There you go, because it's got 2 chimneys there on that one, and 4 chimneys on this one. So I thought that was quite crazy. But we're not ever supposed to learn the right history about anything, because it's all like this. The other videos like this too. But some it's got less chimneys, some it's got more chimneys. Anyway, looking at the Titanic and the Mesopotamia, I think that's how you say it, whatever you say it. Mesopotamia. Yeah, don't they look the same? Come on. Paint job here. They already shown you that they painted this one. It was a white ship, or I'm going to show you in a moment. It was white, and they painted it to make it look like that. And now it looks like this. Yes, these are boats or something, and then another picture, they're on the other side of the ship. On this one, they're on the other side. Yes, you can do all. There you go, they're on the other side now. But look how similar these boats are. I thought that these were the only ones. I thought the Titanic was a ship above any other ship that had ever been. But oh, actually, there were loads of ships that looked just like it. So, don't you find that's all a bit bizarre? I mean, if I showed you that one and said it was the Titanic, you'd have believed me, because you can see the 4 chimneys, and it's got the black base. There you go. Look at that, you'd never know. How would you ever know which one was what? Except the chimneys have changed colour. And we all know that they can fabricate that. How bizarre!
It's been rumoured for a long time that Japan played a major role as a naval object of Tartaria in the Old War, and there were based strategic shipbuilding facilities. There is also a lot of historical discrepancies in the official story about their fleet. Warships at the time of World War I, they had too many out of nowhere. They couldn't have built so many ships in so short a period of time, based on the economical situation they had during the time of World War I, according to the official story again. But if we keep in mind these photos, we can guess that they received these warships as part of a heritage left from Tartarian times.
Well, I am here with the lovely Amy yet again. Hello, Amy.
Hello, lovely Karen.
I'm going to turn you up. I don't know if you're very loud. Let me just turn you up a bit.
Okay.
You sound a bit like you're a bit distant. I'm just going to turn you up. Speak now, Amy.
Okay. Is that better?
It's not the loudest, but I think it'll be alright for the recording. I'm just going to read a little bit, because obviously Rudy's been giving us some information there, but we wanted to look it up to see what it was saying. It says the Imperial Japanese imperial now, so obviously another dynasty or imperial Japanese navy in the Second World War. At the beginning of the Pacific War in 1941 was the third most powerful navy in the world, and the Naval Air Service was one of the most potent air forces in the world. Just wanted to read that because obviously he's saying that, like for instance we've said about the Titanic, they did not make the Titanic. The state of the Titanic, the side of the ship and everything, made it look like this is a ship that had been mended and had been acquired from some other time. It's just slotted into whatever, and then it doesn't really exist anyway because the real Titanic didn't sink. So that was obviously his story. And then you've got these people obviously acquired theirs, didn't they then?
Yes, exactly.
Well, when we get to the Second World War, they've got all these sort of frigates, and I never really thought that even maybe these had come from Tartaria. Did you, Amy?
Right. No, I never even thought of it.
So, you know, these big frigates, they weren't from then. They are Tartarian.
Yes.
But Tartaria ended into 1925, so the Queen turned it all into the Commonwealth and changed things around a bit. So we'll never know the true path of everything, but we're going to look up a little bit of more history. Yeah, looking at this, it says Imperial Japan's last floating battleship, and I don't understand why they'd want to say floating battleship. I mean, boats float.
Right.
Yeah. There's a little bit of history there that you can read if you want to.
Yeah.
Just don't forget, none of that's going to be correct, is it? But you can stop this at any point and just look at it if you want to read it or look up your own. But anyway, okay, so they've got things like that, right? Anyway, oh look at the Empress Japan. I'm not saying it is because it's not as big, but it looks a bit like a smaller Titanic, doesn't it, Amy?
It does, Karen. Yes, I agree.
Well, there's a few different boats in here. You've got, I can't even say the names, I'm not even going to try, but this one looks a bit like a smaller Titanic. So what that document was saying on Rudy's video was that they acquired them, probably just like how they acquired the Titanic.
Exactly.
There it is, the Empress. Oh, that's the Empress of Britain. That looks like the Empress of Japan.
Well,
One second. This one has 3 chimneys, but just looks like a small, you know, maybe they stuck another chimney on, took a chimney off this boat.
They right.
Because most people think the Titanic is huge, but it's not much bigger than this one.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was another version of this with 4 turrets on it. Looks quite much bigger there. Depends which angle you're taking it on. But that's crazy, isn't it? Well, on the thing it actually just said the Empress of Scotland, but it's the Empress of Japan. But I mean, what? Does remind us quite of the Titanic, just a bit smaller.
Yeah.
So they're saying that this was built in 1890 to 1891, and then it was on the west route far east of Canada until 1922. Yeah, there you go. This is quite confusing because in Wiki it says that the Empress of Japan only had 2 chimneys, and there was only 139 meters long. But this one shows the Empress of Japan 1930s, Empress of Scotland, but it's got 3 tunnels, chimneys. Amy, what are you finding? There you go, it's got 3. Right, I know what we're going to do is... Carry on, Amy, sorry.
I saw one that has 2. It said RMS Empress of Japan around 1910.
And there's the Empress of China as well, 1890. That's got 2 chimneys.
Well,
It's a painting. It says it. Just going to take the thing across. There, look. Wiki. RMS, Empress of China. It's got 2 chimneys on that one. 1 second. Wikipedia is showing it with 2 chimneys. Oh, I can't get it right. 2 chimneys. And then over here it's got 3. So 1930 to 1942. So it was nothing to do with Japan. It was just the names of the boats. Because it was
right.
Up until 1942, it's the Empress of Japan. Then it turned into the Empress of Scotland in 1942 to 1957. Then to the TS Hanseatic, 1957 to 1966. Then it became, in 1930 to 1957, the owners were Canadian Pacific Line. And then 1957 to 1966, it was the Hamburg Atlantic Line. And then it's got the operators and that. And then Port of Registry was London. Oh, didn't we have to be in there somewhere? There you go. It was destroyed by fire in New York on the 7th of September 1966 and scrapped. But here they're showing it with 3 tunnels. Oh my God, 3 chimneys.
Right.
Me and Amy was wanting to look up the Japanese Navy, and we've come over looking at these ships. And what it is the Empress of Japan, I know it has 3 chimneys, looks very similar, very, very, very similar to the Titanic with 4 chimneys, doesn't it, Amy?
Yeah, oh it does. It does, Karen, yes.
And on the footage, when it's supposed to be leaving Southampton, I made a comment of look at the hull of the ship. James noticed it, that it's all been botched up.
Yes.
You know, this wasn't a spanking new ship when they're saying it was. It was already a doctored ship. But I mean, I don't know how they'd add another tunnel, you know, another chimney. And if you look at the bridges, they do look a little bit different, but they're very similar boats.
They are very,
right.
Very similar.
So this is another picture of. Oh, that's the Canadian Empress. Oh, of Japan. Canadian specifics, Empress of Japan. And just look how similar it is to the Titanic.
Yes.
Amy's leaving me.
Oh, I know. I'm so sorry to have to leave.
That's all right, my darling.
Oh,
Thanks for helping me, Amy. Have a nice dinner.
Oh, thank you. I'm sure you'll find more stuff, Karen.
Oh, love you, Amy.
Love you too, Karen.
Bye, darling. Bye, darling.
Bye, darling.
Bye, darling.
Oh, bye.
Yeah, go and have a nice dinner.
Oh, thanks, Karen. I love you.
Love you too, darling. Yeah, bye, darling. Bye, darling. Oh, lovely Amy. Hope she has a nice dinner. But anyway, I don't know if I was expecting to... I was expecting to see that they were basically the same ship. They go on and on about the Titanic's sister, but this one's definitely a cousin because of the chimney thing, but they're practically the same ship. Here on this picture they're showing more decks than on this one, but I was just so shocked at how similar they were. Not built different, are they? Same ship, just one's a bit bigger than the other one, if that's the case. Yep, this one is the ropey one with all the different coloured paints on here. And, you know, like, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. No, there's 1, 2, 3. There's more on there, I think. So when you look at this, this is a bigger ship than this. But on some of the pictures, it doesn't look like that. Just goodness knows what they do to us. you know, when you see it more from, you know, this angle, the ships look very similar, don't they? But anyway, that was a bit of finding. Tartaria, Russia, North China, Siberia, Japan. Japanese name for Tartaria. Tartaria, 16th century. Sometimes when you click into them, they don't really take you to where you want to go. What's everybody's thoughts then with this statement? It's been rumoured for a long time that Japan played a major role as a naval object of Tartaria in the old war, as there were, I think that's where it gets to were, base strategic shipbuilding facilities. There is a lot of historical discrepancies in the official history about their fleets, warships at that time of the World War I. They had too many out there from nowhere. They couldn't have built so many ships in such a short period of time based on the economical situation they had during World War I, according to the official story again. But if we keep in mind these photographs, we can guess that they received these warships as part of their heritage left over from Tartarian times. What does everybody make to that statement? Thank you, Rudy. What do you think? So it links in with the ships I've just been telling you about. They inherited the whole lot. Thanks for watching. Let's just go and find the footage and see what's happening with the people. So, you know, waving goodbye to the boat. And what did we find, James?
Diddly squat.
One video, everybody's copied, and you couldn't say that that was the ship leaving Southampton.
No, not at all. Interestingly, on the footage we have looked at,
these are all the same videos.
there's only three.
With 451 on it.
There's only three funnels
video.
with smoke coming out.
Video.
The rearmost funnel has got no smoke coming out of it, which I find a bit odd.
These are the same videos. That's the same video. I don't know what that is, but
It does seem rather odd, because I'm sure I have seen footage of it leaving Southampton, old black and white film, but whether it's just not on YouTube or...
That's the same video. That's the same video. They've been copied. These are all the same video. All with the same... And make that look enormous, don't they? I mean, look at that. It's gigantic, but it wasn't.
Well, it's said to have been the biggest ship in its
Look
day.
at that.
I mean, compared to modern vessels, no, it's not big at all. It's more...
It's maybe not a small boat, but it's not as big as they've made, you know, like the biggest boat of its time.
I would say it's about the same size as a ferry that crosses from Dover to Calais or something.
Or just a big yacht. But it looks big there, doesn't it?
The impression we're given is it's massive, but it's about 800-900 foot long.
Yeah. Just a minute ago we were actually looking at the whole boat, but I mean, I just stopped this footage. Does that look super duper fantastic?
It looks dirty, it doesn't look brand new and pristine.
I noticed it on all this doesn't look very good. I mean, if you find footage on it, it just doesn't look all painted and new. I mean, how do we not know? They could have lied about that, and that's a Tartaria boat.
Well, even on the official...
That's a Tartaria boat.
Even looking at the official narrative, if you look into the finances of the White Star Line, they were financially in trouble, and that's where the whole story seemed to come about swapping ships over. If I remember rightly, it's to do with the insurance, and this voyage was make or break of the White Star Line. So I don't know what happened to the company after that.
It's supposed to be a new ship.
It looks worn. It looks dirty. It looks grubby.
You can see it in the
yeah.
It doesn't look like this wonderfully new painted boat which has just been made.
Just on that lower section under that gangway bridge, you've got that. It looks like patched up bits on there. It doesn't look right at all.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you.
Yeah, it doesn't look right, does it?
No.
No.
Maybe that's another. Maybe it's a ship that comes from the past and they've taken it.
Yeah, that's what I think. Maybe that is the truth of it.
There's three. Right, A, it's history. B, it never happened. Or C, it was a ship from another era.
I would go with option C, and it's just a cover story to get rid of it.
Yeah, because the sister ship stayed.
Yeah, but I think that didn't that sink as well eventually. I can't even remember that one.
Hello, my name is Carl Munck. I'm going to introduce you to a new science, or perhaps an old science, depending upon one's viewpoint. It is the science of geomathematics, as taught to us by the pyramid matrix. The pyramids, an unsolved mystery until now. The prevailing methodologies being used to explain them are inadequate. Our search for answers has been centered around the most simplistic of questions: who built them, when, how, and why. The few answers we do have, we most generally thought up ourselves, with little regard for facts. But no real harm done, except that someone is going to have to rewrite a few thousand history books. The proper questions? Why are they exactly where they are and designed the way they are? Ask these questions and answers begin to flow. In order to read the pyramids, we must make an adjustment in our thinking. Once made, we achieve the fine-tuning necessary for the decoding process. That adjustment is our Greenwich prime meridian of 0-360 degrees longitude. That's our prime meridian, not theirs. Theirs was very clearly indicated by the Great Pyramid, some 31 degrees, 8 minutes, and 0.8 seconds to the east of Greenwich. This, of course, means that when reckoning the longitudes of their global matrix array, we must correct them to Giza. As for latitudes, they use the very same equator that we use. This global array that I referred to involves far more than just pyramids. For example, there were great geometric forms which were built up with nothing more than dirt, such as the Great Octagon at Newark, Ohio. And great earth circles, such as the fort, about a mile to the southeast of the Octagon. And Germany's Golo Circle near Bonn. And some circles were even built upward in the shape of hemispheres, such as Mexico's Cuicuilco Pyramid. That's what we call it anyway. The Aztecs call it Juliaco, and since they named it long before we did, that's the name I'll use for it. And finally, the best known of all prehistoric circles, England's Stonehenge. What do such ancient monuments mean? These artifacts can be read almost as easily as one reads a newspaper, only the writing is different. We are a purely literary culture. We live, think, and work by alphabets. The geomathematics of this ancient pyramid matrix system was arranged around the language of mathematics. It has only been our reluctance to admit to ourselves that ancient men knew mathematics that has ensured the silence of their monuments for so very long. Deciding to admit it to myself one day, and following through with it, these monuments began to speak. British archaeologists have verified that before Stonehenge fell into ruins, it comprised an outer circle of 60 stones, 30 lintels held aloft by 30 supporting stones. The inner display, in the shape of a horseshoe, had 5 lintels held aloft by 10 stones, 15. Let's take these one at a time. What do the 60 stones of the perimeter have to say? They are arranged in a perfect 360-degree circle. Did the builders reckon circles to have 360 degrees of arc like we do? Remember what I said about admitting that maybe they did? It's as easy as that. A 360-degree circle of 60 stones presents a simple mathematical equation. "60 times 360 is 21,600. Now, why did they wish to convey such a number? Did they? Or is this just idle speculation? They did. Because neatly hidden behind this number of 21,600 are 3 other numbers, 51, 10, and 42.352941. And when seen as 51 degrees, 10 minutes, and 42.35 seconds of latitude, we find that this is the dead center position of Stonehenge on our modern maps. Examine what is shown. Count the numbers shown and multiply. And Stonehenge, in absolute silence, explains to anyone precisely where it is. With this discovery now affirmed, we know that they used our present-day 360-degree system when working with circles. Another well-known system used today is the base 10 system. 10 cents is a dime, 10 dimes is a dollar, and so on. Did they also have a base 10 system? All we have to do is ask, but we must use their language to ask such questions, or we get no answers. Stonehenge has already shown us this number 21,600 in its actual latitude north of the equator, a single number which encodes 51 degrees, 10 minutes, 42.35 seconds. Let's call 21,600 its grid latitude. Now, if they wish to explain a base 10 system to us, all they'd have to have done is to build other circles at grid latitudes or longitudes of 2,160 or 216,000. The stonework at Stonehenge is what archaeologists call the Phase 3 construction. It dates to 1,750 years before Christ. The first phase, dating 1,000 years earlier, was a simple circular earthworks with a diameter of roughly 228 feet. It looks rather blank without the stones, doesn't it? Yet even this construction was important because the ancients built analogues to it everywhere. At least 2 of them right here in North America, at Newark, Ohio. Almost a carbon copy, isn't it? Except this one has a diameter of 1,056 feet, 1/5 of a mile. Its original name lost in time, we call it a fort, built by the Hopewell Indians. But that defies logic. Indians never built forts, they attacked them. Obtain a U.S. Geological Survey map for Newark, lay out a grid, and anyone can find that the fort centers itself at precisely 40 degrees, 02 minutes, and 27.00 seconds north latitude. And these figures multiply to exactly 2,160, which is 1/10 of the 21,600 grid latitude of Stonehenge. That's a base 10 system, using earthworks of comparable format. Of course, there are those who would be more than happy to write all of this off to mere coincidence. After all, history is comfortable with the idea that the early American Indians were ignorant because they didn't have an alphabet like ours. But they did have an alphabet. It was mathematical. And to ensure that we would have no difficulty understanding it on our side of time, they built a third opinion, and right here at Newark. Remember now, we must reckon their longitudes from Giza, not our modern Greenwich. Well, this circle on the octagon is centered at 82 degrees, 26 minutes, 55.4 seconds west of Greenwich today. It was originally 113 degrees, 34 minutes, 56.22 seconds west of Giza's Great Pyramid, the individual numbers of which multiply to 216,000. The fort at grid latitude 2,160, Stonehenge at 21,600, and now the circle on the octagon at its grid longitude of 216,000. No question about it. They also knew our base 10 system, and they proved it to us through their geomathematics. But what about the octagon itself? What was its function in this incredible system of geomathematical order? Examine it closely. Notice that its 8 sides are opened 8 times. In other words, its 8 sides are divided by 8. Okay, what are we supposed to divide by 8? The attached circle, of course. Divide its grid longitude of 216,000 by 8, which gets us 27,000 exactly. And guess what we have at grid latitude 27,000? Germany's Golo circle. Neatly centered upon the Earth at exactly 50 degrees, 20 minutes, 27 seconds. Said numbers of which multiply to 27,000. And found from 8 divisions in an octagon, 1/3 of a world away. Yet, what was the original mandate that required the Golo circle to be placed at grid latitude 27,000? One quality of mathematics is its ability to run in circles, so there has to be another way, or ways, for this ancient global matrix to prove a basis for Golo. Where do we find that? Before it fell into ruins, when a visitor approached Stonehenge, what was the first number to come to mind? Yes, 2. 2 separate efforts here, lintels and supporting rocks. Then, once inside, the observer finds the 15 inner and 60 outer stones. 3 base numbers here, 2, 15, and 60. And when multiplied, they become 1,800. Now then, take this 1,800 and multiply it by the 15 inner stones to find 27,000, the grid latitude of Golo. The outer circle of stones at Stonehenge was complete, unbroken, but the inner display was divided into 5 separate units. Dividing 1,800 by 5, we return to the base, 360. When they tell us to do something like this, they had to have left us a monument which answers their matrix at 360. Did they leave us something at 360? Sure. Marking their prime meridian as it did, Giza's Great Pyramid centers itself on 360 degrees of longitude. But that's a pyramid, a squared monument involving the pi ratio, and a different aspect of this matrix. What we're looking for has to be round, like Stonehenge. Mexico's Juliaco is round. It says 360 degrees. And that is exactly where it is. 19 degrees, 18 minutes, and 01.5263 seconds north of the equator, the numbers of which all multiply to 360. Juliaco's grid latitude is 360. See, anyone can read this matrix. All we have to do is think, but in their language. We have only to admit to ourselves that they knew math at least as well as we do. Or we can simply throw the maps and the math away, leave things as they are, and remain in the dark. What we are seeing in this matrix is the signature of someone who raised global positioning to a fine art, not Stone Age degenerates. Why does Juliaco have 4 terraces on it? To explain how they did their spherical computations. You see, like Stonehenge, Juliaco is an equation. It shows us how to perform spherical calculations without using the pi ratio. But that's for another time. Thank you.